Guys and girls, we wanted to show you the rental volcano where really clever people are buying property and creating an incredible amount of income out of it. Stay tuned. We're going to give you some shining examples of what you can buy today and some people that have done it. Josh Wapshot, the economist. Good morning.
Mr. Novak, how are you this morning?
Very good, very good. So for people that don't know, real estate agent of 30 years, real estate agent extraordinaire, salesperson, commercial residential of 5 years. This morning, we're going to give you our best of what we know about these rental volcanoes that people are creating.
Yeah, no, we rental volcano guys. I thought just before we came on, we thought, how do we explain this over the spectrum? Meaning probably something that we're going to show you, which is a little bit, a heavy investment and quite, somewhat quite technical, versus something as little as, renting out a spare car space, putting a granny flat at home. I think it was this topic's really about unlocking your assets in a rental sense, and what those possibilities are, because there's people out there doing it, and I think it's definitely something to be in every investment strategy, Mark, don't you think?
Yeah, big time. The thing that's really common that we see is that the passive investor generates a lower income. The active investor, the person that's willing to roll their sleeves up, have a punt, take a risk with vacancy, really push the investment, they're the ones that can drive up that weekly income, that monthly income, that yearly income for that property. But it becomes more of a business.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think another thing that's quite important, especially when it comes to commercial property, is not only are you improving your passive income or your cash flow, but with commercial property, the bigger your rents, the bigger the valuation on that property. If you've got something like for like next door, same building, same size, but two different rents, these properties going to be different in valuations based on that rent alone, even though if it's exactly the same in every other way. So I think it's an also important point in respect to that as well, Mark.
Absolutely. Now, real life examples. Have you got some for us so you can show people to say,
Yeah.
guys, let's look out for something like this. It will generate this. Now, if you get this right, I was talking to a big investor the other night who bought something substantial. When I say substantial, I mean in the order of 20 to 30 million in our area. And they were borrowing money at 5.18%. And the asset that they purchased was 5.8% net. Why does that matter? These guys have just gone out and bought something big and they've put in their equity. They're doing nothing and the thing's positively geared for the rest of its life. Big tenant in there.
Yeah, wow. I do have
Cool.
It is. I think it's a really interesting and probably something that people have, I mean, let's say last 10 years, you generally used to purchase commercial property for the aspect of the rental side or the higher yields than your residential. But I really think as prices, especially in the residential space, have sort of carried these commercial areas that are, in close proximity to residential, that's sort of really eating into the yields at that, usual 6, sometimes 7%. Anytime we get something that comes up with a net 6% yield, it's generally got a very big interest from an investor base. So I think stuff like this is ways to unlock that potential once again. So I'm going to share you a property that we sold here at Novak. So I'll just pop this over here. So this is the property here. So it was 22 Chard Road, Brookvale. Now, with Brookvale, I think a massive thing for this area is that the fact that it is really underdeveloped, or a lot of the warehouses that you see, are exactly like this. The old double brick haven't been changed, haven't been needed to change. But I thought it was really interesting what this investor did. He actually came in, bought it well unders in terms of the rental yield potential, but he's actually done something like this in Brookvale before. So he's turned what we've got here, guys, is about 1,000 square meter block. Basically, Pittwater Road's over to the left-hand side, so it's in a very prominent location in Brookvale. And what he's done is given the property entire facelift. And I'll just take you back over here. This is the floor plan. So when you're looking at the property, guys, you had a warehouse type scenario at the front, and then you had an office behind it. It actually had a residential component upstairs. So it was a 3-bedroom unit upstairs. I'm just going to flick through some of these images quickly. But you can see here they had the residential upstairs. This was the office-like area at the back. So it had a few things in there. They had a gas operator in there at the time. And then as I come towards the warehouse area, just at the front here, you get an idea, very old shape. So exactly what Mark explained about getting your hands dirty, this operator definitely did. That's a bit of a screenshot for you in regards to what it looked like previously. Now I'm going to show you what he's done now and how he's now presenting this property, because I think it is absolutely fantastic. So he's almost he's renamed it. So guys, this is the building we were looking at previously, the old red brick. So new paint. He's given it the name, the chard, and then what he's ended up doing is he's actually sectioned up these areas into three individual warehouses and a office area up the top there. So, and another really important factor, I think, which a lot of opportunities don't have, is it's turnkey. He's done all the major stuff. So he's polished the concrete, painted the walls, new bathrooms has gone in every spot. So it's essentially waiting for that key operator that's generally going to lock in a long lease at a very good rate. They've even put a mural on the wall, but seeing what it was before and what it is now, I think this is an absolutely fantastic idea, and it's been taken really well by the public. So I just really wanted to share that because I thought it was an amazing change and definitely a way to unlock those rents. Mark?
So what sort of rent was it getting? What sort of rent will it get now that the works have been done
It
on
was, yeah, well, it's getting well unders. It was getting around 80,000 in that current form. Now you're probably looking at almost 350% increase on those previous rents with what he's done in there. And like I said, he hasn't done anything majorly costly. He's done paint, he's done polished flooring, and he's done new bathrooms. But I think he's definitely tending to the target market, that what you're looking for in terms of a tenant.
Can you just put that screen layout back, Josh, just to how we normally have it? I can't really. Thanks, Ledge. I think also what people really got to remember here is if you've got something that was about a $4 million sale, and a $4 million sale should generate about a $200,000 income, about 5%. If hypothetically, if someone does a reno and suddenly it's getting $300,000 in rent, that asset becomes a $6 million investment. So that's how much that hard work's paying off. Are they going to spend $2 million to get it to that condition? Probably not. So there's some money there to be made. But I think for mum and dad investors, for people that are out there at the moment, our message today is to, when you are looking at in commercial and industrial, there is much more flexibility to drive that income with a bit of hard yakka than there is with residential. With a residential unit, I'm not going to whack a wall down the middle of the 2-bedroom unit and say, now I've got 2 1-bedroom units. You can't do that in residential. But in industrial commercial, there's not a lot holding you back from partitioning and separating and getting 2, 3, 4 lettings out of properties. Even properties that cost $1 million, you can still partition them and rent them separate and drive that income. So I think that's where there's a bit more of an attraction to commercial, because you can drive that income and create that volcano by just a little bit of brain power. What am I going to do here, which you can't get in residential?
Yeah, definitely. Well said, Mark. I think, yeah, like you said, and it's on low scale as well, like those warehouses and having one warehouse partitioned down the middle. You've got 2 tenancies, something that you're normally getting maybe 50 to 60 grand. All of a sudden, you're getting 40 on this side, 40 on the other, and 80, and creating more income passively, but also in turn increasing the value of your property at the same time.
And look, I think it's obvious, more income's good. But there is going to be more work to generate that. But, there's very, very good return on investment. There's good payback for doing something like that. It can keep you going. Particularly, I think older folk are less inclined to doing that, because they don't want to put that energy in. But certainly people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, they're like, yeah, let's pump this income, and let's get cash flow positive on it, which means it's after it pays its interest off and pays itself, it's putting some cash into your pocket.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Anything else you wanted to touch on?
We've got stuff available for 200,000 or 300,000 by way of storage, where you can go chop, chop, chop. You may know Ed, the famous Eddie, that's done it with storage units, and created some really nice income for himself. We've got stuff that's 1.2 million brand new that you can go chop, 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 and create some pretty huge income out of. So I guess moral of the story, guys, is industrial commercial will allow you to drive that income harder if you use your brains. Come to us and we've got some opportunities.
Yeah, I think thinking outside the box, biggest thing, doing what other people aren't, that's what's going to drive your success and, a well-positioned investment.
Big time. Thank you, Mr.
Awesome.
Wapshot.
Thanks,
Have
Mark.
a great day.
See you guys.
Bye. I'll get you to hang up.